Did I leave the stove on?
Said it before and I'll see it again. I will never tire of that that entrance music. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all races, welcome to the Opie-Verse, episode 32. I figured out I'm way behind on episodes, and the reason I know that is because in 2 weeks' time we are approaching 1 year of the Opie-Verse. Can you believe that? The 1st of August last year was the episode 1. So I should be realistically in the 40s. And now, granted that I don't count the specials that we do and all of that, but I should have, that probably puts me closer to 40. But that just shows me how much I've how many weekends off I've had. How dare I? And I say this being off next weekend because it's my birthday. So fuck you. But never mind. Who've we got? Of course I'm late, James. I'm fashionably late. It's what I do. Are you new around here? I know you don't usually meet at the start of the stream, but this is what we do. Hey, James. So James, hey. Who else we got? Sonic. Who have we got? Oh, Joe is in the house. He wants a case. Of course he does. Good evening, everyone. It's very loud out there and we love it. We love to see it. So first and foremost, let's just address a couple of things. Harvey, James, after the last stream we did, you two are on chat watch to make sure those bots don't sneak back in, because it's already a bit noisy in here and that usually attracts them. So yeah, you're on chat watch, so watch out for them, block them, do whatever you need to do. Yo, Jacob, how's it going? But yeah, less about that. The rest of the year we've got 10 in. Nice. If you haven't already, do us a favor just before you get comfortable and settle in, because we might be here for a little while. Just hit the like button. Let people know it's worthwhile dropping in if they're passing by or if they stumble across this later, because I'm telling you, it's worth checking in. Look, it's been a few weeks since I was here, and I've been pretty lazy, to be honest, but we are back with a good one tonight. My guest this evening, I contacted quite some time ago before I even went to Vegas and all of that, started the conversation then, lined them up for getting back. We've had the date in and very excited to have them along this evening. So you may know them from Instagram. You may know them from TikTok. You may not know them at all and are getting to know them this evening. But I know this person as Kris, but also as Vaders.Wife. I give you a Vaders.Wife. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. I kind of got halfway through that monologue and realized I didn't really know where I was going with it. But yeah, welcome to the Opie-Verse. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. I have my husband with me tonight to calm the nerves, but yeah, doing well. Yeah, I hope you're doing all right.
Good. Where do we know where you're from? Do we for some reason I thought you were from down south, but you don't sound from down south.
No, and thank you for recognizing my accent. I'm actually from up north, so I was born and raised in Preston, Lancashire, and I ended up moving down south. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean it's I definitely, I mean, you can spot a northern accent. Obviously, I'm on the other side, and plenty of us are on the Yorkshire side. Well, I'm not Yorkshire, but I'm further up. But yeah, the north doesn't really lose its accent, does it? Let's be honest. But yeah, I being down south, and I'm guessing it's even hotter down there than it is up here, and it is going to be even hotter as we get in. So
yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah, I want to go back home.
I mean, it's probably not much cooler up there. And imagine the train journey home or the drive home.
I'd rather not. Definitely not.
Before we get into like all of the nitty gritty and all that, look, how's your weekend been? How's your week been? How's your year been so far? I can't believe we're like on the cusp of You know, we're halfway through July, nearly August. Like, how's it going?
It's crazy. I mean, for me, it's been very strange because I only started like everything on TikTok in October, and now where I'm at here in July, it's kind of like, did that really happen? It kind of all feels a bit of a blur, especially after like the COVID situation. So
Yeah,
it's going smoothly. It's going smoothly, but I'm just going with the flow. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
good. That's the most important thing is, and you see so many people kind of get hung up on like it kind of takes over. You get some level of success, and then you almost think like, should I be doing something with this? If I do, what do I do? How do I start? The kind of the fundamentals, as I see it, is just continue having fun, because like,
Exactly.
if that stops, then it just all falls apart. But yeah, so this is one of the things I was going to ask you really is then, let's like kind of lead with that. But the TikTok, did you get started on TikTok and then kind of Instagram has followed?
Yeah. Like, so it was just a random day in October. I was like, I'm always watching these Star Wars TikTok creators and I kind of want to give it a go. So one day I just thought, okay, well, I'm obsessed with Darth Vader. Let's just take this as it is. I went with it. And then in January, I was like, okay, I've got like 9K. I'm getting there. I'm going to make an Instagram. And then Instagram happens. So I'm kind of just running with it and seeing how many platforms I can get and broaden the community really and bring everyone together.
Yeah, indeed. Sorry to just pause a second, but there's an important question coming to you, to us really, but is it gravy or corn on the cob for your side from KFC?
Gravy. It's got to be gravy.
I can't even believe the question's been asked, if I'm honest. But you know, I didn't want to put words in anybody's mouth, so you
always
can
gravy. Yeah. Gravy. Never corn on the cob when there's gravy around, for real.
Nah. And I like corn on the cob. I really like Nando's corn on the cob. Not like KFC corn on the cob's just like meh. It's a bit meh. I hate the term, but it's mid.
Yeah, mid.
Yeah, so I hate the term, but never mind. But yes, back to you. So picked it up, went with it, because I would say primarily from an observational point of view, your content is kind of geared around your cosplay side of it. Did it because that's quite a brave activity to start posting online and to do it as cosplay. Did you start as a cosplayer, or did you start and it's ended up where you are now? Or take us through that journey.
So I was just like, I'm just going to post some like relatable stuff, like just simping over Anakin. I think a few people can relate to that. So I was like, I'll start there. And then I thought, it's inspiring seeing people cosplay, whether their cosplay is screen accurate, or they've just gone with any costume that they can afford, or they've literally pulled clothes out of their closet. I was like, this is really inspiring to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give it a go because I didn't have much confidence. And then with me being known as Vader's wife, I was like, I could create her into a character and then just have that on my TikTok page. So it just stumbled just from a little idea. And now it's like I have my own original character that people think of and recognize, which is quite insane to me, really.
And you've done well with it, and you're right, because you've started with kind of a character that is of your own creation and then kind of grown the confidence from there. Were there anybody, because you said you started off, as probably most of us did, as a viewer of TikTok and then became a creator yourself. And there are some fantastic creators out there in the cosplay community. Anybody stand out, especially back then, who really inspired you and like stood out and made you think, yeah, I fancy a bit of that?
So it's actually quite funny. So there's this TikToker, and I think their username is like Kylo's Got Cake.
There is nothing better than TikTok usernames, I swear. There really isn't.
Yeah, and he posts like thirst traps as like Kylo Ren, and they're quite funny. And I was like, these are hilarious, but at the same time, it's like, I want to be able to do that, make people laugh, but kind of trap people in there. So I just went along with that. And also like Element 7, like his content, fantastic. Just so many people that I'm lucky enough like to be mutuals with now that like just really stood out to me. And Noah as well, that cosplays Darth Vader. Like he was one of the first people I ever followed. I was like, he's really cool. So I just watched them and I was like, you know, if they can do it and they're having fun, then why don't I give it a go? And I'm really glad that I did.
And I think that's and I've spoken to, like, even before I did this, and spoke to people on TikTok and been on other people's streams, and I think that's where like TikTok is so good, because it gives you the, like with YouTube, like I remember when I started on YouTube and thought, even though I had a quite a sizable following on TikTok, it was like it felt like you're starting from scratch, and YouTube's been around forever, and you're like, oh shit, like whereas I don't know, TikTok is rather welcoming, like you.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy to get going. So a lot of people kind of pick up and never move on. It's not easy to grow, and it's not easy to have success, but it gives you the confidence to get going. So good on you on that, and it's good to get. So yeah, here we go. I mean, chat. Half of you in the chat could probably answer this one as well. I feel the sound. I do agree with me on this one, but I feel a good transition sound is always like a good thing.
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
a trending sound, because if people know it's a thirst trap sound, they'll hang around. But yeah,
exactly that. Like when they know it's coming, then you've got them trapped, really, and it's always good to have them in a trap. And also, what is for me the most effective way of, you know, creating a thirst trap is actually having fun and being confident, because if you're not feeling into it, you're not going to do a very good job, and you're not going to give that vibe off to other people. So just have fun with it. Like, yeah, you want to look hot, but you know, people love it if you give a smile or a laugh.
absolutely. And I've seen some great ones of like kind of almost like reverse thirst traps, where there's the girl who, I can't remember her name, because I don't think I follow her, but I used to see her quite a bit, where she would thirst trap as like the inflatable T-Rex or the inflatable Velociraptor and stuff. And you were like, okay, so she's hot and she's using the thirst trap sound, so we know what's coming. And then all of a sudden, the like inflatable Velociraptor would come in. I thought, yeah, that's brilliant. But yeah, it's
it's great. It's great.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the fun part on it. And I think people really buy into it as well. I think people like love that side of it. So recently you've been doing Mara Jade, which is
I have.
very cool indeed. Where did that one come from?
So it's again such a funny story, in how my own original character opened up a door of an opportunity for me. So I took the picture in the thumbnail that you've got today. I took that, and one day I posted it on Twitter, and I got a handful of comments, and they were all mentioning Mara Jade. Like, I remember one specific comment, it's like, someone get Dave Filoni on the phone, we've got Mara Jade. And I was like, oh, okay, nice one. And I was kind of like already aware of like Star Wars Legends and everything, and I do love a strong female character. And I really looked into Mara Jade, and I fell in love with her. And a lot of the people that were recommending me to cosplay her were like really like being so lovely and encouraging, like, oh, it's fine, you know, go ahead and do it, even if you don't like feel confident now, like don't shut it out completely. And then one day I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to cosplay Mara Jade, and it's probably the best thing I've ever done, really.
It is cool. Like, I think it's really cool. And I think from like your perspective, but also a fan's perspective, is I know we have artwork, but there's no kind of like physical embodiment of Mara Jade. So like every take on it is exactly that. It's more of a take on it, and people tend to be like, not that they shouldn't be, but people tend to be more open and welcome and interpretive to it. Whereas we've seen with kind of more traditional characters, people are like, oh, well, this is wrong, or that's wrong, and this and that. And yeah, that bullshit. But like,
yeah, it's awful. Yeah, like I was thankful, because, you know, you can take it. That's why I love a lot of the Legends characters that aren't in live action, because you can just look at them and you can be like, I can look at this concept art and I can do whatever I want with it. If their personality sticks out to me in this way, I can then bulk out this part of their character even more. It's why I always love having, so in a lot of the pictures I've posted of Mara, there's a little nod to like Rey in the sequels, and there's also a little nod to like Luke at the end of Force Awakens. And I thought, I want to take these parts of them and amplify that in Mara, because to me she would be like that. So again, like being able to do what you would like and bring something new to the table with that sort of character is fantastic, because when you're cosplaying like a well-known character that has to look perfect, people can be so rude, you can get burnt out, and it can make you not want to cosplay again. And it really sucks for people that have unfortunately experienced that sort of stuff.
It does indeed. It does indeed. So I'm just kind of listing in my head the cosplayers I've seen you do. So I know Leia is in kind of you've done 2 versions of Leia that I can think of. You've done Mara Jade, as you've said. You've done Vader's wife, which is awesome. Any others?
So I currently have like a few cos plans, and one of them is Grand Moff Tarkin. I really want to do a gender bend of Tarkin. I love him so much. So I've like got the uniform and I just want to completely transform them. And I did a little bit of a femme Palpatine for a little while, which was kind of fun. It was very weird putting like the wig on and wearing the brooch. I was like, oh, dark side.
I mean, let's be honest, the dark side is 100% better. And I really love the Imperial officer side of it as well. Like, and Tarkin is, for me, is the OG of it. Peter Cushing is like unbelievable in that character, and I think he's an awesome character. And something I suppose it's difficult to cosplay him because of how old he is, and to do like the kind of the absolute like for like. But yeah, those are cool. Definitely. Have you ever had a go at Rey?
So she's been in my cos plans even for a really long time, and I've been kind of thinking a way of how to do dark side Rey and introduce that as in itself, because I love the concept of like Empress Palpatine. Like, I love her being a Skywalker, I love her being a Palpatine, I love her being Rey Nobody. But the idea that we could have had this strong Empress,
I know.
We
feel like
we were robbed.
100%. Like, I totally agree on this. Now, a lot of people, like, I might be the only person that this makes sense to, but like, I'm a big WWE pro wrestling fan, right? So what they see is when a character isn't kind of loved, and particularly if they're a face, being like the good guy, best thing you can do is turn them heel, like make them the bad guy. And right now we've got that with Roman Reigns, who is like The Rock's cousin, and like people hated on him for years because they just kind of spoon fed him, almost like the same accusations of what people say about Rey, that kind of Mary Sue, and they like all of that. They turned him heel, and he is the best thing going. And I just think, like, is whatever your thoughts on Rey, and as good as it was, I feel like that would have just been like unbelievable. It would have probably been difficult to do in The Rise of Skywalker as a whole, because it wouldn't have left a lot of time to develop. But to get what we got, great. But it would have been great to get it proper. Like, that would have been cool.
I agree. Like, and this is the thing. Like, even though a lot of people hate the sequels, like they did with the prequel trilogy back then, for me, it's like, if Star Wars brings something out and I don't like it, I'll still forever be thankful that we got something anyway, and I'll learn to appreciate it as it is. Like The Last Jedi, it's my least favorite film, but visually it's absolutely stunning, and I absolutely adore Kylo's inner conflict. So I can still find something positive from something I didn't like, and I think that's a very important quality to have.
I agree. And it's tough because people quite often ask me, like, as they do ask everyone, what's your favorite sequel, what's your favorite trilogy and all that. And I totally agree. The Disney era visually is like unmatchable, how good it looks. And like, I love Rogue One is up there, like my second best film. But yeah, for that reason, I would put one of the things I really don't like about the prequels is how visually poor they are. Now, they're quite good at the time, but they haven't aged well. And I just think, like, it counts for something with me. But yeah, everybody. But yeah, let's just focus on what we do enjoy. And I agree with that. There are parts of The Last Jedi I enjoy. There are parts I don't enjoy. But yeah, just like focus on the good bits, right? And I would always rather watch any Star Wars film than like The Notebook or anything like that. So, like, that's just my take on it. And I like if it's on, I'll always watch it. So that's the thing. Where does your kind of love and passion for Star Wars start? Like how far back does that go?
So my late dad, it was around Christmas. I must have been like around 3 or 4 Christmas time, and he put the TV on. He was like, "Oh, Return of the Jedi's on." And he got me to come and sit down and watch it because I have a brother who's 20 years older than me. So he's 40. And, you know, he was like brought up with Star Wars, had all the toys and everything. And Dad sat me down, and I remember seeing Darth Vader for the first time. And I felt like I got like little like tingles all in my body. I was like, oh, wow. I was like, this person's really cool. Like, and I used to be very scared of masks, and he was the only masked person I wasn't afraid of. So it started from there. It became a tradition. So every Christmas it would be binge watching the original trilogy year after year. Funnily enough, though, like I didn't watch the prequel trilogies to a very long time. Like, even though like it finished like in the early 2000s, so when I was just around being born, even like when I was an early teenager, I didn't actually watch the prequel trilogy until later on, just because of like the whole, especially with a lot of the people that watched it when it first came out, they're like, oh yeah, well the CGI is bad, the story's bad. So I didn't give it a go. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm actually just going to sit down and watch it. And I felt like I'd fallen in love all over again, like so many years later. So it's thanks to my dad, really, that I like Star Wars.
Awesome, great. I mean, I'm now picturing you at like work or like some sort of like social gathering around Christmas doing the traditional annual quiz, and they're like, what's the greatest Christmas film of all time? And you're like, Return of the Jedi.
It's exactly that. It's like, it is a traditional Christmas film. You'll always see it on at Christmas time, especially Return of the Jedi. It's the best gift. That's all I can say.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say a no to it. That's for sure. That's for sure. So, I mean, for that reason, because what I always find, and this is true for me as much as anyone, what a lot of us kind of it's what it resonates in our emotions, in our memories. So, Return of the Jedi, it sounds like a very powerful film for you, and it triggers a lot. So would you put that for that reason, kind of at the top of your list?
Oh, certainly. Like I always, with my favorite Star Wars film, Return of the Jedi is either
you lost your northern by there by the way. Oh, certainly. Very not northern whatsoever, but yeah.
It's the customer service voice coming through. I would work at retail. I'm like, oh, of course. But yeah, it's either the first on my list or the second. I mean, it's always tussling with Revenge of the Sith. That film is fantastic, but just for the relationship that Luke and Anakin have at the end of Return of the Jedi, that means so much to me, especially with everything that I've gone through personally. I watched that scene and it's very comforting. It helps me move forward, and for that, it'll always be the top of my list.
Yeah. It's I have a weird relationship with Jedi. Like for a long time, it was my favorite film. And then there were parts of it that I'm just a bit like, oh, can we get past this bit? Ewoks. And then then that everything on the Death Star is a masterpiece for me. And the dialogue when he's still Vader, Luke's kind of hiding, and like even when they broke away from Palpatine, like beautiful. Absolutely love that part. So it's a good film in that respect.
It's perfect. Like, I love how Luke has always wanted to see the good in his father, even when he's being pushed to his limits. Oh, you have a sister. And for a moment you think he's going to lose it, but in the end he always goes back to being, I can save you. Yes, you've done horrible things and you aren't to be forgiven in other people's eyes, but to me, as my father, I forgive you and I accept you, and you can come back from this.
Oh, you're bringing a tear to me, are you?
Yeah.
It's no, it is. It's beautiful. And I feel like that's something that the other trilogies just don't have on the original. In my opinion, it's that like emotional investment. The others just don't have it. But yeah, it's beautiful in that respect. So when you talked there about the originals, and then like that's what got you in, then you kind of came late to the prequels and then got into everything else. The weird thing about like Star Wars, but weird the right word, I don't know, but we all consume, like everybody you speak to consumes different Star Wars media. So I think we all watch the films. We pretty much all watch the TV shows.
Yeah.
Some people read the books, some people read the comics, some people play the games, and the canon kind of media sources all over the place. What kind of paths have you found yourself on, and what do you kind of consume?
So I, of course, always have been, my main consumption has been through the films. However, recently, especially because we have got so much more out there, I'm trying my hardest to get into the books. So of course we've got the High Republic now, which is fantastic, and I love how much we've got of that. However, I tried reading Light into the Dark, and the writer's writing style I just couldn't get into. So for me, I'm still clinging on, trying to get advice from all the Star Wars book fans on TikTok. I'm like, come on, give it. And funnily enough, I've been reading the first book in Padme's trilogy, So Queen's Peril.
Nice.
And for me, that has already just opened up a whole part of Star Wars I never knew about. So I'm definitely trying to get in there with the books for canon, then Legends, and hopefully the games, especially with the Fallen Order news that we got.
Yeah, are you talking about Jedi Survivor or?
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking, fuck if I missed something. It's so hard keeping up now, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that very much so. And Fallen Order is a brilliant game. It's the first time, it's not very replayable, I find, but the first time you go through it, it is fantastic. And it's very much of the era that we're in now, certainly with the Kenobi series, and obviously a lot of people were like, "Oh, is Cal going to come into it and all that?" But it's banging now with the Inquisitors, so definitely recommend playing it with that. On the book side of it, I really struggle with books, right? Because I'm a very imaginative person, so I'm a really slow reader because I always like picture it in my head and like act it out in my head. But I've recently moved to the audiobooks, and I was really reluctant to do it. And then so I had 2 holidays. On one holiday, I listened to Ahsoka, which is narrated by Ashley Eckstein. So it's Ahsoka, and which is brilliant. So I definitely recommend that because it plugs the gap between the Clone Wars, well, a little bit of the gap between Clone Wars and Rebels. So that's good. I then listened to Dooku Jedi Lost, which, because I'm a big Qui-Gon fan.
Yes.
So it introduced Padawan Qui-Gon. And then yesterday I finished Master and Apprentice, which again is brilliant because it's Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, like 14-year-old Obi-Wan, and it's again is absolutely brilliant. But my kind of main point is it allowed me to consume, because because the book dictates the pace, I could then visualize it, and I could just absorb it, and it's so settling. I listen to it before bed, and then you haven't got like screen time and all that. And so I would definitely, if you struggle with the books in some sense, try the audiobooks. And I use Audible. I think you pay like £8 a month, and it gives you like a free book a month. So definitely give it a go. But yeah, the Queen's Peril stuff is after. I've got Brotherhood next, which is the more recent one with Obi-Wan and Anakin. And then I'm going to go on to the Queen's. I'm trying to do it in some sort of canon order, so they kind of flow into each other. But I would definitely recommend giving them a go.
It's very tricky as well, because for a long time I tried having a look at timelines, especially separate from Legends and canon. And I read from one article that they came out and they said, we don't include the film, like the adaptations from the film in the books, because they aren't technically canon. I was like, well, this is great, because now I'm going to have to figure out where I'm going to put Queen's Peril, where I'm going to put Phantom Menace, where I'm going to put Master and Apprentice. Like, it completely like spun me out. But I'm so glad you've still been able to consume the media through audiobooks, because sometimes if you feel like you can't get in, you kind of feel like you miss out on a lot, and you miss out
Yeah.
on meeting wonderful people, because I feel like, especially on TikTok, there's a community just full of Star Wars readers and then Star Wars gamers, and it's just a wonderful way to be part of all of it without having to miss out.
It is, and I think like it's a great way for, 'cause Star Wars has been like, for us, it's been around forever. Like even for me, like it was done before I was even born, you know, and I'm not really young, so like it's been around forever. But when you think about it, we don't even have half of the Star Wars content we should have. So Disney are fixing that, and over the next couple of years, we're plugging a lot of gaps, which is great. But you can only produce so many movies and TV shows. So to get it out through multiple forms is great, and it's a good way to kind of round off some characters as well. So yeah, I'm all for it. It's good. It's good. What I know for you with your, even with your cosplay as well, and this is very brave, but I know you quite often attend the cons, and you've attended some. When did that start? And when you did you start going in cosplay, or did that take a bit of time and confidence to build? And take us through your con journey.
So, and again, this is so funny how just a random snap decision led to so many things. So I was laying awake in bed. It must have been 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm just going to look at some conventions. So I typed in MCM October. I saw that Hayden Christensen was going, and I was like,
sold.
Going. I was like, it's in 2 weeks. I'm getting that ticket, getting the photo up. I'm going. I attended, and I was too scared to go and cosplay. And there was another convention, a few of them afterwards, and I had packed like my cosplays, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then last minute, I was like, no, I can't do it. And then one day, I just thought, if I can't leave the house in my cosplay, I am not going to be able to grow and to personally be honest with myself. You know, I'm saying I'm doing this to feel better about myself. I'm proud of myself. I wanted to get to the point where I am not ashamed to show it with the world, like in real life, not just online. And it felt silly to me. It was like so many thousands of people watched me on a screen. It'd be no different in real life. So in May, MCM, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I did it, and it felt absolutely incredible. It just felt fantastic.
Good. It's yeah. I mean, you're braver than I am. Like I don't know if I could. Like I have no problem once I'm there. But yeah, it's I totally get that. Harvey, I know you're around. I know you're a big cosplayer, and you recently did, was it London Film and Comic Con you went to in full Anakin? Did you get changed there, or are you at the point now where you're leaving the hotel and going from there? So it'd be interesting to see that. But yeah, it's good on you, because that, for you to recognize that and then kind of overcome it is brilliant. Did you have far to travel, like in cosplay?
So I was really lucky. I just decided to, so for me, like MCM London, I just have to get a couple of trains because I'm just outside of London, so it doesn't take me long. So I got to go in my own clothes and then get changed the morning before. So that I was very thankful for. LFCC, if I was to go cosplaying there, I would have to get on a couple of trains and wearing the, you know, layers outfit in A New Hope. I don't want to be doing that. I'll have like marks all over me. But I would definitely now be more comfortable in doing that than just getting changed. I'd be like, you know what, I'm leaving the house anyway. I might have to walk out and grab a packet of crisps or something. So I may as well just leave then and wear it out the house.
Love it. How have you found the con experience as a whole, just like going and attending and being around? Because I know I've following your Instagram, particularly, like people take pictures with, like they recognize you and approach you and all that. Like how have you found that? Because considering you've only really been doing this, you haven't even been doing this a year.
Exactly.
You're going to a con to see Hayden Christensen, and people are like, I want a picture with you. Like how has that all gone?
For me, it's been so surreal because like my whole life I've always felt almost like no one. I've kind of not really had much of an identity outside of the music I listened to and the films I watched. And I always have been such a private person. So the idea that people see me online and they see me in person and they approach me, they want to talk to me and take a picture, it means a lot to me, because in one way or another, they feel happy. And I've been able to meet someone that thinks what I'm doing is great, which is always nice. And I feel like being appreciated in such a daunting space can be a wonderful experience, because unfortunately a lot of the times at conventions you can have bad experiences. You can meet people that can say really backhanded things. So when you have such an uplifting experience, it really makes you remember why you're doing it, especially when you see younger children that are like, oh, it's Princess Leia and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I love doing this compared to like when you have like someone like staring at you and tries to comment on your costume. It's surreal, considering the fact, again, I was no one online a year ago and now I'm like recognizable. It's very weird.
There must be the other side of it as well, though, where people look too much, shall we say. And as cool as the community is, there is always that kind of far end of the community who ogle, shall we say. But I'm guessing you've had some experiences with that.
Oh yeah, I can't remember how it happened, but I remember it was at MCM. I believe it was at MCM, and I was just in cosplay with my friends, and I noticed out of the corner of my eye there was this much older gentleman, and he was full on like staring me down, and I was trying not to let it get to me. I was like, you're in costume, I'm in costume, we're playing dress up, get over yourself, you know. And it was at the point where I didn't want to approach him, but at the same time, it's kind of like, if someone's going to stare, just take a picture. And he comes up to me, he looks me up and down, and then he walks away. So, yeah, it's like, he probably didn't like my costume. It was probably jealous that I pulled off something better than him. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah,
it's not worth kind of worrying about. But yeah, I see this as like a 6 foot bloke. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's very different as a young woman. Like it's a very different experience. But yeah, it's just but
terrifying, especially like even just being a female Star Wars creator online. It can be so tough.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you about this, but like you brought up, so yeah, let's, because I've seen like snippets of things, and particularly on Instagram story and stuff, but it not just you. I've seen it from just women creators in general, but then you pair in the toxicity of like the Star Wars fandom or parts of it, because it's not everyone, but it's a bit of a perfect storm for whatever. But yeah, how do you, like, what has been your experience of it, and then kind of how do you rise above it and deal with it, really? Because you seemingly seem to do that now. You seem to be like, look, you've recognized it happens, and you have a means of dealing with it, certainly from the outside looking in. But like how have you ended up where you are now with that mindset?
So in the beginning, I did get a lot more hate comments than I do now, especially when people would comment on my physique. So I'm a very petite lady, and if I wear a costume, you're not going to see 2 massive melons sticking out. You're not going to see a giant.
There's the northerner. There's there.
You're not going to see me shaking a giant rump. And a lot of people felt the need to comment on that, like, where are your boobs? You look like a bloke, this, that, and the other. And at first, I got very upset about it. I was like, how dare they say this? And then I thought to myself, just do what Carrie Fisher would do. Give them the bird and smile. And now what I do is I have on TikTok, you can filter comments. So I will put words in comments that people have said to me, and every now and then I'll go through the comments and I'll be like, approve, and I'll be like, I didn't even see that, delete and block straight away, because they're not worth it. I mean, when someone picks on me on my appearance, I'm like, you're not even worth it, because you felt the need to say that. You're just saying it to be malicious. However, when it's people that try and call me out because I'm a woman and I must not like Star Wars, I must not know anything about Star Wars because of my gender, then I'm like, okay, I'm either going to educate this person or utterly destroy them. What mood am I in today? Usually I go for educate, but when I destroy them, somehow their comment magically disappears.
Yeah. The amount of times that you will see like a reply video and then you're like, ooh, like let's go back, and it's like, this comment has been deleted. You're like, oh, come on. If you're going to be that guy, stand by your conviction, like stand by it. But yeah, but good, like it's great, like it's shit that you have obviously had to go through that. 100% it is, but for you it's great, because I would imagine, you know, a lot of people have just been felt pushed out of the community and pushed away from it and all that, which is it's shit. So it's great that you've overcome that, but at the same time you should never have had to overcome that. But yeah, it's yeah,
it's tough. And I mean, even like, and I've recognized this a lot of like LGBT creators, and especially like with women as well, like unfortunately we kind of get censored quite a bit on TikTok. Like we get shadow banned because obviously we have like a flag in the background, or we get like censored just because of something that we want to wear or post. And it's like, when we see males doing it and they don't get banned, we always kind of think, is this because of my gender? Like, am I doing something wrong? And then to give up is never a good idea, because you don't want to kick yourself when you're just beginning. Because in one of my amazing mutuals, Horrid Fear, he's absolutely fantastic, he's called Miles, I really wanted to quit at one point. I was like, I can't do this. I'm having people trying getting rid of me because I said I didn't like a certain Star Wars film. And he said, your content is making someone's day. You are the reason why one person smiles. And to me, I thought, well, I just have to keep pushing forward, because if these people are being so negative, why am I paying them attention when other people are happy that I'm there? So you just have to keep just pushing through. You can't let these people ruin something you've got going for yourself.
It's so true, but it is easier said than done as well. Like
exactly.
Something I've said and see to a lot of people, and a kind of a point that I came through was like, look, if I wouldn't take advice from this person, why am I taking criticism from them? But it's easier said than done. Like, but the one thing I would see is, think of those little girls who think you are super cool when you're dressed as Princess Leia or whoever you may be dressed as, because in 20 years' time, they're the you of 20 years' time, you know, and the heart, like, if it's just one person, which it's more than one, like that's what to focus on. Now, the other side of it as well is, which I'm sure you're starting to do, and I don't, when, you know, as time has gone on, you've built a bigger community, you're getting to know more people, and I would assume, you know, with your attendance at cons, you'll start to travel with more people, and that will kind of will continue to be the case as you go forward. So you become more of a group, and one feel safer, feel more confident, but you know, you feel part of a community. So
exactly,
that's what it's all about.
Exactly. It's like, in one of my plans for Star Wars Celebration, it's going to be the lifetime of opportunity, because we're going to have people from the US come in, people from Europe come in. And I thought to myself, I want, you know, we're all good, we're all friends with everyone, we're all in the same group. And I thought, I want to have all of us meet and get to know one another, because we're all sort of on the same wavelength. We deserve to be in such a wonderful and positive environment. And that's all I've ever wanted on my platform. Like, when I go live, like if someone tries to start something, instantly I just delete them and block, because I want people to think, oh, well, this person's really inspiring, I could go ahead and do this. And that's exactly what it's all about. Just being within a group of people that accept you and are just as positive as you, because ideally it will make you stay in the community for longer.
Indeed.
Right.
No, I wholly agree. And I think when you kind of weed through the shit, it is a hell of a community in that. Speaking of celebration, we'll not talk about celebration next year just yet, because if I'm right in thinking, you just missed by accident you just missed Celebration this year, right? Like you went to Galaxy's Edge, you went Anaheim, you were in LA, but you booked that before Celebration and then like all of that. So
I was fuming.
there's the Northerner. She's back. Yeah, it's I can imagine. How far were you? Like 2 or 3 weeks out?
So we went for a week, so we had a few days in Anaheim and then a few in LA, but literally it was as soon as I was getting my flight home, Celebration started.
Bastards.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm fuming. I was like, I can't believe I've missed this. I'm missing out on everything. Everyone's having a good time. And I thought to myself, the next one's in London. I don't care what they say, it's going to be in London.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Darth Chockwood had said, like, look, it's highly likely that it is going to be the case. I don't think anybody, expected it to be announced so soon and then for tickets to get released so quick. But yeah, great that we get that opportunity and it seems that everybody's flocking in the masses. But how was Galaxy's Edge? Like, did you just go for the day or did you go get a couple of days of it? What did you buy when you were there? Because people love flexing their Galaxy's Edge hauls.
I got so much. So we were there for 3 days, and originally it was just going to be like, we're going to spend 1 day each in a different park. And I was like, no, I can't wait any longer. I have to go to Batu. I have to literally do it all. So I was there for 2 days just in Batu, and it was fantastic. I got myself a little salacious crumb to sit on my shoulder.
Oh, love them. Love them.
Fantastic. I got myself this like fan and it squirts water at you, so it's been perfect for today, which is fantastic. And I got they're almost like really heavy like paperweights, so I got one of Darth Maul and Darth Bane, which was really heavy to put in the suitcase and quite daunting, but I got quite a bit there.
Nice. Is there were you tempted with a lightsaber at all, or was it just out of the budget?
So I ended up building a droid and I had no idea how much it was going to cost altogether. I was like, oh, this is just the standard price. I was like, cool. And then they told me the total and I was like I couldn't breathe for a moment. I was like, I'm being force choked. What? So my budget got pushed way back, but I came home with a droid. So,
well, there's always that.
Exactly.
How did you find LA in general?
Oh, LA. Let's see. Let's just say I really missed Anaheim when I was in LA. I don't think I'll be going back to LA. I mean, the area I was in was, it was beautiful. I enjoyed it. However, LA is very different to what you see on TV, and I'm glad that I got to experience that because I realized a lot. But, was sitting outside Target and this man just gets a hammer out of his bag and just starts smashing stuff like right next to me. And I was like, I think I'm going to get an Uber home now. I am done.
Yeah, it's
wild because no one warned me either. I was like, yeah, I'm going to LA. They were like, have a good time. I thought, you knew. I was like, you knew what it was like and you didn't warn me.
It's so big as well. Like, it's ridiculous, but because it's all flat, other than downtown where is this like the skyscrapers, it's so flat. It looks really small, but it takes forever to get anywhere. I was there in like 2019 and it was just, we were staying in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard and we wanted to go down to Santa Monica and it was like, oh yeah, it's like 20 miles away. Like, what? Like, it's in the same city, but nah, it's absolutely massive. The mistake I made is we were in San Francisco first. And I was like, oh, well, San Francisco, LA, like where it's the same state, we'll hire a car and drive. 9 hours later, I'm just like pulling up. It's massive. To get around is a pain. But yeah, San Francisco was an experience. San Francisco was, it sounds like I had the experience you did in San Francisco. LA was fine. Like it was when you go to, you got Santa Monica and then Santa Barbara. Like Santa Barbara so you got one of the two beaches. So you got Santa Monica Beach and then there's the other beach further down. That was a bit kind of, I would say it seemed a bit dicey, but it was sound at the same time. It just seemed dicey, but it was sound. But yeah, San Fran was an experience, that was for sure. But Yeah, I absolutely love the place, LA.
Glad.
But I didn't go to Galaxy's Edge. Didn't go.
Well, you'll have to save up and make sure that you go, because it's incredible. Like, I highly recommend it. And I mean, you kind of already know like the surrounding areas, so when you've been there and done that, like you'll be like, oh well, I might just go here for a bit of a laugh, and then you can always go before you go home.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna pop in this theme park for a day for a laugh. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, celebration next year.
Yeah.
Are you going for the 4 days? Did you get a 4-day ticket?
So buying tickets was a nightmare. Was in the queue for over an hour, which is fine. And as soon as we were getting tickets, they decided to check my bank because of fraudulent activity.
Oh, no.
I was like, come on, you've never ever done this and you're doing it now. Luckily, I got 3 days to go, so I'm going Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But I kind of felt like pulling my hair out with the experience. So many people were like having the same issue, and I was like, I truly believed for a split moment, like, I'm not going to get tickets. It's just not happening. I don't believe I can get the tickets.
It was absolutely awful. So the way I understood it was there was no time queue. It was just by random selection, you were pushed to the front of the queue.
Yeah.
And like, so we're all in Discord being like, where you at? And then all of a sudden someone's like, oh yeah, I'm at the front of the queue. I'm like, how? Like, you only joined the queue like 5 minutes ago. It was an awful experience. And if I'd kind of sat in the queue till the end, I wouldn't have had a ticket. But Jacob, one of the lads, he got his tickets, but he had multiple devices, and he got to the front of the queue twice. So he was like, do you want to do it? I was like, too right to do it. So he sorted me out, so managed to get that. But
I'm glad.
Yeah, next year is going to be fun.
Oh, for sure. I'm so excited because luckily, like, I turn 21 the day after Star Wars Celebration ends, so I'm planning to have like a massive like get together, like celebrating 21, but everyone meet and have fun. So yeah,
sounds like a good excuse to go to Spoons to me.
Yeah, we should definitely go. Everyone just Spoons, like, pub quiz. It'd be fantastic. Like, I'm excited. I can't believe
Question number 1: what is the greatest Christmas film of all time? Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, 100%. If people say something else, I'm like, get out.
We'll like make our own pub quiz, and we'll ask traditional pub quiz questions, but make every answer a Star Wars answer. And just feel like piss people off. I love it. Now I mean, that's awesome though. The fact that like perfect timing. So I'm guessing your birthday is on the Tuesday. But then you've got tickets to the Monday, so when we fall out of the Monday, you can be there and we can do, go and have drinks and all that. And
exactly, yeah. And I thought to myself, even though I want it to be a birthday celebration, I thought it's a perfect time for people to meet if they haven't already. It's also a perfect time for people to say their goodbyes if they've got a plane to catch or if they're going to other parts of the country. So again, it's the part of me that's like, I want a safe environment for everyone to meet and to get together. So I'm really excited just to have everyone be like, oh, I've seen you online, or oh, we've only talked on Discord, and they can finally like be in the flesh. Yeah,
absolutely. What's your plan then? Are you going to commute, or are you getting a hotel in London for a couple of days?
Definitely a hotel in London, because commuting back and forth, I can't, especially if I'm drinking every night afterwards. Definitely not. I just want to get a hotel, go to bed at whatever time, and don't have to worry about a train. So yeah, like, how many days are you going for? Like, what are your plans?
I've got the 4-day ticket. So because like I'm like up in the northeast, I'll be coming down on the Thursday, staying over, then I'm staying till the Tuesday, so I'm like around all weekend.
That's so good.
So yeah, I can't wait for it, and like I'm trying not to wish my life away. It's going to be awesome, and I think what makes it even more exciting is seeing like the Americans that are coming over. It feels like people are making more of an effort for this one. Like people like Connor Fahey is coming, but he didn't go to LA for like the celebration this year, but he's coming over to London. I'm like, yes, brother, like this is what we want. So totally get it. It's going to be awesome.
It's so exciting because it's like otherwise a lot of us wouldn't have had this opportunity to meet these people that we consider our close friends. Like Christy, like I'm really close with her, and it's like I wouldn't have been able to have gone. I couldn't have gone to Celebration like this year, obviously, and I wouldn't have been able to have gone next year if it was back in Anaheim. So the fact that she's able to come to Celebration in London, I can finally meet her. It's like the perfect opportunity that a lot of us won't ever get to have again in our lifetime, or wouldn't have to begin with.
Yeah, and from what I understand, when you speak to people like Choco and Element 7, I think this is the norm. So it could be that actually it goes back and forth. But yeah, and do you know, I don't know about you, but I've started to map what because we kind of got an idea of what shows are coming out down the line. So I'm trying to figure out what like trailers we might get, but I can't figure it out because I suppose it's such a moving timeline as well. Like things like the Lando series, but they can't pin down Donald Glover. That's the problem. So,
It's like my head is constantly ticking. Like of course, when I found out that Hayden was going to be in the Kenobi series, I fully cared for that show. But before then, the only show announcement I actually cared for was Lando. Yeah. Everything else, I was like, not for me. And now that we are not getting hold of the Lando series, it's slowly hurting me, killing me. And we've heard rumors from Taika Waititi. Sorry if I pronounced his name wrong, but apparently he's meant to be doing a Star Wars film, and we'd get more information next year. And I think, oh well, if he gets his act together and he can finally get on board with it, hopefully at Celebration we'd finally have like some clue of where he's going with that.
Yes, because all we know is this. I think it's going to be Skywalker Saga era, but it's going to be non-Skywalker Saga people, which we're desperate for. We need more of that. And what I saw a quote from him in the last week or so where he said he hasn't wrote it yet, but you would imagine with Thor: Love and Thunder, like now that's out the way, potentially moves on to that. But it essentially hasn't been the script hasn't been greenlit, but you would like to think that even if they're not happy with it, they'll work on it and go from there. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But
for sure. Like I've also been thinking about what guests would be attending. Like I have a few in my head that I'm kind of like, I would pray to have them there. Like, so many.
Okay, so who's like, I'm sure you would love to see Hayden again. I'm sure you wouldn't pass that up, but we'll put that as a given. But who would you like to see?
I would, so of course Mark Hamill, because he, aside from like this year, he's been at Celebration, so I'd love to see him. I would love to see Daisy Ridley, especially because she's just come back on social media, and I think she was on the red carpet. They asked her if she'd ever reprise her role as Rey. She was like, "I'll always be Rey," and I think it would be incredible for her to also come back and to receive a lot more positivity than she did before. So I'd love to see Daisy Ridley. Also, I'd love to see Daniel Logan again, that played young Boba Fett, because meeting him was probably like the best experience of my life. And it's selfish of me just to want to see him again. But also Ian, because I love my Palpatine. I have to have him.
Of course. Because I suppose that's the thing. You look at who the British actors are, which there are plenty of them, and you're looking at like the top tier ones, not the ones who do like the local Comic Cons and were like Imperial Officer number 4.
Yeah,
like I'm talking like the ones with actual speaking roles, and there are some good ones out there. Yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see. But then, with it being that, as you see in Mark, I suppose with a lot of TV shows and movies are produced in London, so actors can find themselves in the general vicinity anyway. But yeah, I suppose with Celebration, they can pretty much get anybody in. So they're not. I genuinely don't know who would be who I would who would be my number one.
I love that though, because you'll have more to look forward to as well, really.
Yeah.
Because that's always good. Because for a lot of people, they've said, oh, well, like, if this person doesn't go to a convention that I want to see, I'm not going at all. And it's like, just go and have a good time. Like, because your favourite can't go, it doesn't mean you shouldn't attend. Just go and have fun.
To be honest, I'd probably do us a favour if nobody was there who I actually wanted to see, because then I wouldn't have to wait in lines for hours to go and
save some money.
Yeah, save some money and save some time. Because those Jedi, I was a bit torn. Like, would I get a Jedi pass if I had the opportunity, which I didn't even have a sniff at. But like £1,000 for one of those was like, but I can't trust myself sometimes when I get to the checkout. I'm like, but yeah, I'll have to have a think about that. Like, who would be from? I'm just looking at like sets and stuff, and like who stands out. And Tamura probably one. I would see that as incredible. I feel like I could go to the pub with him and just sit in the pub. Like, he can come to the Star Wars quiz with us.
Yes.
100%. But other than that, I'd struggle. I mean, Warwick Davis would be cool, even though he did play an Ewok. But
he'd be good fun, I bet.
He would. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so from... I suppose it's too early to really start making plans for celebration. Like for you to, especially for someone like you who's a big cosplayer, but you're there for 3 days. So are you potentially thinking 3 cosplayers, or are you just going to have a day off and be like, nah, fuck it, this is my day. Like, I'm coming in joggers and a hoodie. Fucking deal with it.
I'm definitely considering having one casual day, but a Star Wars lawyer on one of the days at celebration, because I have a Twilight cosplay. For one of the days, I'm actually I'm going to be attending as his wife, Lando's wife, for his cosplay. So I can't wait for that. We've had one drawing of Lando's Twilight wife, and we've both had a look at it. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to plan an outfit for her. I'm going to hopefully like match Lando's cosplay, and we can make it happen. So,
what colour skin is Twilight?
Blue.
Are you going full blue body paint as well?
Yeah.
Yes. You know what I keep thinking about is like the aftermath, because pretty much every hotel within like a 5-mile radius of the XL is booked out that weekend now. And just imagine like the housekeepers going in on that like Tuesday morning when we're all starting to check out, and like there's body paint everywhere, and they'll be like, what's happened here? Nothing really. We just, loads of people body painted up, went in a sweaty room all day, have come back pissed, collapsed in bed and haven't washed it off, and then have waited until the next morning, showered, and then left.
It'll happen. It's going to happen. Like, I know for a fact, if I get put in blue body paint, I will not be bothered to wash that off. You'll see me next day, like, kind of looking like, you know, a little bit blue. And people are going to be like, on the train home, is she okay? Are they okay? What's wrong with them? And I'm like, just vibing.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Just chuck an audio book on, switch off, and away you go. It's it's the way to go. Now, to be honest, even like I might do one. I'm there for 4 days, and I'm thinking, I don't know how deep I'll go with it, but even I'm thinking I kind of got to do a cosplay one day. Yes. But I might do like a twist on something, and I've got something in mind, so we'll see.
Very exciting. I'd love that.
Well, when in Rome, I've totally missed it, and I don't know if you saw it, but I loved Harvey's comment from earlier about he did go to a con in his Jedi robes as Anakin, and I don't know if he said Anakin or Luke, and he was stood waiting at the bus stop, and a guy pulled up in a van and said, if you were a real Jedi, would get here just as the bus is pulling in. But like, that is the worst kind of shade someone could throw at you, because you're like, fuck, you even like it's not even like you're just like detached from the fandom, like you know what you're talking about, and like, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, that was a fun one.
It's even crazy as well, because not to get into politics, but I watched something that was going on in the House of Commons where Boris Johnson was compared to Jabba the Hutt, and I just find that so hilarious that even though people aren't that into it, they can instantly hurl something at you and you're like, oh gosh, they know how can I deflect this?
Yeah, I did see that. I can't remember the context of it, but yeah, it was you were like, oh god, it's they're bringing it on, like, yeah, it's a good one on that one. But yeah, I mean, Celebration, as I see, is unfortunately it's still like 9 months away, but like we don't want to wish our lives away. So when you're like from where we are now and we're starting to look forward for the rest of the year, both within kind of the con space, so we've got a couple of more MCMs this year. I think they announced the Birmingham one a couple of weeks ago, and they've obviously got London again. Any of those planned, or any others that we haven't talked about?
Oh, for sure. I'm definitely going to be attending MCM London. I was very lucky enough to get a creators pass, so I will be there for 3 days, which is great. And MCM Birmingham, I'm planning to be there for 2 days, because after that I won't be going to London Film Comic Con, especially after what happened the other week with Joseph Quinn. I can't.
Was this where she was like hurrying them along? Was that at LFCC? Was it?
Yeah, it was absolutely awful. So for Stranger Things fans like Eddie, so Joseph, the actor Joseph Quinn, he went, and from what I've been told, like they oversold him by 400 tickets, and you know, it was very hot in there. People were having a rough time. Like Joseph was apparently refused food. Water was being shouted at by the like runners of everything, and I thought to myself, I cannot put money into this if the guests are being treated like crap in the event. Like all of us cosplayers that are going, and we get treated like that for that amount of money and how much they are earning off the back of these people. I thought, I'm sorry, I can't support this, absolutely not. So LFCC I will not be going to for the rest of the year.
I don't blame you, and I think that will massively come back to bite them, because he is, like, Eddie is one of the most iconic pop culture characters right now. So like everybody's familiar with it. That's going to massively come back and bite them on the arse if that's the case. But what I saw of it was I was doing a Q&A on a panel, and I don't know if it was at the same one, and the woman stood up and was like, look, I heard about what happened and just want to say, like, look, we are really grateful for you. And then it was from there that I'd seen like the rest of the context of it. But yeah, shit, man, that's like bullshit. But yeah, great though that you've got your MCM creator pass.
So thankful.
When did you find out? Because I know some of the lads have had their applications in for weeks and they haven't heard anything yet.
So literally it was 2 weeks ago, and I've applied for creators passes before, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to get it this time. I've never had it. It's always been denied. And then randomly it was like MCM, and I was like, oh, the application. I was like, I've not got it. I clicked on it and it's like, oh, it's been approved. I was like, what? So a lot of people still haven't got theirs. Some people have had theirs recently. Some people got them back within a week, and I was like, where can I get that speed from? Come on. Come on. So it can be a really lengthy process, but again, like, just don't give up with it, because for me it was like 3 times the charm and I magically got it. So I was like, this is very awesome.
It is. It's cool to just like have that, and then it just makes that decision for you. But yeah, nice that you got that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do we know what, have they announced guests for it yet?
I don't believe they have, like, and this is my issue with MCM, they leave their guest reveals very, very late. So unless it's like a massive guest, so like Hayden, you'd know a little bit in advance. But for like the majority of the time with MCM, you don't actually know who's going to be there until like 2 weeks before. And then it's like, a lot of people have decided they aren't going. Some people don't even have the money to meet these guests now. Like, they're planning on behalf of MCM. A lot of their planning is awful. Whereas LFCC, that's one thing I will give them props for. They get their guests in quick. They give you announcements way ahead of time. Whereas MCM, that's where they fall short. You do not know who's going until like a week before. But then again, like, and with that being said, for me, it isn't the guests that make the experience, it's the people that you meet and hang around with and you have fun with. That's what a convention is to me. I don't go there for the guests, I go for the amazing cosplayers that inspire me. I go for the people that I've only ever seen online. Like, that is very much what I go to conventions for now, like just for the people around me.
Nice. Yeah, community.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going to talk to you about Stranger Things, because the last time I was on, it was too soon, so I couldn't really talk about it. Now, this is your warning if you're watching and you still, because I'm surprised by how many people are like, oh, I've decided to watch it now, but I'm still only on like season 3. I'm like, what took you so long?
Yeah.
But okay, but this is kind of your warning to mute. But thoughts on season 4?
Oh, I had some issues with it. However, I thought it was incredible. So, unfortunately, you know, my favorite characters weren't so lucky. I felt, even though I thought visually it was fantastic, the acting, I mean, Sadie Sink, she's absolutely incredible. Joseph Quinn was fantastic. All of the casting was on point. All of them delivered fantastically with their performances, just above and beyond. However, the writing really bothered me, specifically with Max. So, of course, you know, before she almost died, you know, thanks to Kate Bush, she stuck around. However, with volume 2, I didn't like how they've left her character in limbo. You know, they've said it's a miracle that she's here, yet we don't really know what we're doing with her. And also, Eddie, he died for a town that wanted him dead to save them, essentially. And it's the fact that the only characters we saw impacted by his death was Dustin and his uncle. And I was like, what about the other characters that Eddie died for? Why aren't they upset? Why aren't they moved? Why is no one saying anything? And also, Mike's character, I really didn't like this season. In my opinion, he doesn't deserve Elle, and he doesn't deserve Will.
No, definitely it will, even more so than Elle. But
I love
yeah.
Will. And even Jonathan's character, may I quickly, what is going on with him? He was such an important main character, and they kind of pushed him aside for a little bit. I was like, he needs to be there for his younger brother. Of course, they cleared that up in the second half, but to begin with, I was like, Jonathan is more hands-on than this. He wouldn't just let go of his younger brother that's been through so much just like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think on the Max thing, particularly, I was like, that's strange. Now I know, obviously, we're getting the 5th and final series, but they're always quite coy about when it's coming out. But I kind of hope that means we're going to get a quick turnaround. And then that would kind of make sense, because it would lose its impact if we wait another 2 or 3 years before. And they kind of have to go quick.
Yeah.
Because they're growing up quick. Like really quick. So like they need to do that, otherwise they're going to come back and they'll be like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
They're going to look and sound like me. So yeah, it's hopefully that means it's like a 12-month turnaround for the next series. But yeah,
so.
My kind of surreal thing outside of Stranger Things is obviously the Kate Bush song, Run Up the Hill. And like all these people who are like, oh, I'm just watching it now and I'm getting caught up, and they probably know what it's from because it's talked about. But imagine never watching Stranger Things and only knowing it by name, and then wondering like, why the hell is this Kate Bush song like back? Like what on earth is going on? And such a shame that Master of Puppets didn't get the same treatment, but it was that one.
As a metalhead, I was like, finally, we're going to get, you know, Metallica's one of the most like mainstream like metal bands anyway. I was like, finally, we're going to get more metalheads. We're going to have like Metallica like right up here, like going to surpass Kate Bush. And it was like, oh, it was just Master of Puppets and that's done with. I was like, But it symbolises so much with everyone in Hawkins. Like, come on, like the symbolism's there. Look at Eddie shredding it. Come on, where's the love? Where's the
It's
love?
cool not to be cool though. Like you don't want it to be like overly. The one thing I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but I keep getting the ad on TikTok for like play like Metallica. It's like an app where you learn to play guitar, but Metallica themselves are pushing it now. Other than Lars, I don't know any of the band's names, but there's one of the guys who is the guitarist. And I thought, Jesus, he does look like Eddie Munson in like 50, 40 years time.
Yeah.
And like they've really like built Eddie around the guitarist. So yeah, it's they went in on that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I always love, so I was like a metalhead, especially like in my younger years, and I love having that representation of those characters and having them finally be the hero in the story, because especially like back in the day, like metalheads often targeted, often stereotyped against just because they were different. So finally having someone, you know, that loves a bit of like satanic metal is finally the hero of the story. It just brings me so much joy. I mean, would have been a bit cooler if Eddie played a Megadeth song, but I'm just going to leave that there.
I can't contribute to this enough to get into it, so I'll take your word on that. I have an exposure to it, but a lot of my exposure to it has come through, like as I said earlier, like WWE fan, and obviously a lot of them use them as walking fan. So I'm going to ask you this, go off on a bit of a tangent. I don't know if you watched any of it last night or you've seen the highlights today, but the TikTok boxing with Ed Matthews and all of that. So this is the beautiful thing about TikTok, right? You can have 10 people in a room and everybody knows 10 different people, and like nobody sees the same videos that each other sees. But we've had the whole Cal the Dragon, Ed Matthews, Simple Simon thing. Are you at least aware of the situation, or do you have no idea what I'm talking about?
I have the only person in wrestling that I know is
no, I'm talking, these are TikTokers. These are British TikTokers.
No.
So there were, like last night, there was a full like British TikTok charity box. Like I don't even know, I think it might have went beyond charity, but yeah, there was like 8 fights, all of TikTokers onto each other. So I did a video on Friday basically saying, like, in anticipation for it, like, look, we've got the boxing fight this weekend between these two, but what I want to know is if Nerd Talk was to be the next, because it was kind of like football talk that did this one with a few exceptions, but if Nerd Talk was the next theme franchise to do like a TikTok boxing thing, who would you like to see? I then offered up Harvey being Darth Walker and James being Darth Veritas, because they're cousins. So the narrative writes itself. They go back to being kids, and they've both kind of come out and said, yeah. So seeing about that. So to loop it back in, if there was to be that, and let's say you were to compete on it, what would be your boxing, fighting, WWE, whatever? What would be your walk-in song? Because metal fits perfect in that genre.
Oh, let's have a think. So I have always loved, so my favorite genre of metal is black metal. A lot of people consider it to be the most extreme. And there was a song that always came on as a kid in one of the video games I loved to play, and it was Call from the Grave by Bathory. That would be my one, because it would make me seem more intimidating than I actually am. And hopefully that would make people kind of get a bit shaken up. It's like, she's coming out, she's here
exactly
to
what it's there for.
Exactly. So I'd be like, right, I'm just going to skull crush these people. When in reality, if I came out with a very light-hearted Judas Priest song, I think people would start laughing rather than taking me seriously.
I suppose it depends on who's in there, right? Like, one of my friends, like me best mate, he was best man at my wedding, I was best man at his wedding. He fought one MMA fight, like full cage fight and everything, and he was like, he put so much thought into his walk-in music, and the walk-in music he went for was like a deep house version of LaRue going in for the kill. So he came in and it was like proper mysterious. The guy who came in next came in a Barbie doll, Barbie girl. So Richie's like, oh, I've like built up this tension, and then the next guy's like, I'm a Barbie girl, and he just killed it, and that was it. And you're like, oh, like, so yeah, it's totally like
That's
that.
incredible. I mean, if I had to be funny, then maybe Tenacious D. Maybe
Yes,
Tenacious
yeah.
D. Like Kickapoo from their film. I would have to go for that.
Good choice. I mean, Tenacious D, you
Yeah.
pretty much throw a dart at their songs and you'd pick a good one. Okay, so I'm not going to start any beef, but I am going to ask you, because like I'm just asking everybody at the minute, if you were to have a charity boxing match against a fellow TikToker, who would your opponent be? Who are you calling out, Kris?
To be honest, I am gonna have to call out Christy. So she's one of my mutuals. She does martial arts, and she's like,
That's a bad choice. That's
yeah.
a bad choice for that reason.
And she's always like, yeah, well, the first lesson's free. And I'm like, okay, you can butter me up all you want. Get in the ring with me, a northerner. I'll show you around. I'll show you around. So definitely Christy, I'd say. She's fantastic.
There you go, Christy. The challenge is laid out. Honestly, I really feel like I want to try and like push to make this a thing.
Yes.
Who
Celebration
from like Nerd Talk, who would you like to see go at, like two other people? Who would you like to see go at it?
Oh, I feel really bad, especially because they're both my mutuals. Oh, I mean, again, I could cause problems for the Star Wars community with just saying this, but you know, Star Wars Lawyer.
That's what we want. Yeah.
And Darth Choco.
Oh.
I'd love to see them both. I love them both dearly. So those two, for sure, for me.
I'll lay that down, and there you go. Challenge accepted. I mean, looking at that profile picture, God help you, Kris. Jesus. But yeah, we'll set it up for. We'll corner a pot of spoons next year, and I'll stream it on YouTube, and we'll just line up a card and get everybody stuck into each other. But yeah, what a laugh that'll be. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool to do it, and like, I don't know, it'd be quite funny. And the one thing I would say is, I think the walk-in entrances from Nerd Talk, it'd be worth the £6 subscription fee for that alone. Because like the costumes people would be breaking out, like the props people would be breaking, like it would be like 10-minute walk-in full like themed and everything. It would be amazing. But yeah, chat. By the way, call out any matches that you would like to see happen, and also call out what your walk-in music would be, because that would be that's the best part. Like, I'd get to the ring and then I'd be like, all right, I'm done now. So like, that was the best part. Like,
trick's over.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, nice. Anyway, back on track. So yeah, so from a talk there, like, about the future side from the MCMs and like the cosplay and the Comic Cons you're doing this year, what are your kind of forward plans with like the social media side? Because we touched on it earlier, and like that rapid rise to fame you've had, and you've certainly built a fantastic foundation for yourself, and you get to that point where you're then like, should I be doing something with this, or what do I do with this, and how do I do it? Like, what are your thoughts? It's a great point now as we're looking towards the end of the year. Are you starting to set them goals and think about how you expand your content, and if at all? And yeah, I'll shut up and just let you talk.
It's all good. I out in my life outside of TikTok, I study English literature and creative writing. So writing is my passion, and for me, I would love to have written my own like Star Wars. When I say fan fiction, I don't mean like all the hinky stuff. I mean like actual. Well, I mean that too. I mean, who doesn't like that? But also almost like a what if sort of story. So in my cosplay, you know, Vader's wife, she's got a name for herself, and people are like, oh, well, how is she Vader's wife? And it's like, I want to write my own story of her upbringing, how she found Anakin, how she contributed to his downfall. So I would love to create original characters and have them put into the universe that we've got. I would also love to be able to also create a community for people that were a little bit like me, that were very lonely. You know, they've moved away from their family and their friends, and they need people to be around. So I'd love to do a thing where we have like a monthly meetup where we'd like go into a board game cafe, we have drinks, we just spend time to one another. I really want to build something that can help people be themselves in a positive way. So, you know, getting people to be creative, write their own Star Wars piece, to express themselves, get into cosplay, do everything. I really want to bring all the people around me in and give them something in their lives that make them strive for what they love and what they are passionate about. I really want to be able to do that for other people, because it's helped me just being welcomed by everyone online.
No, it's beautiful. Like, I think it's like the nature of the community. Certainly, the good side of it is, like, I started doing this like back when I picked it up and started watching people like Choco and Connor, who are like the first two people I followed. And the reason I did all that is basically because, like, I've got an amazing friendship group, but they couldn't care less about Star Wars, and they could care even less about Lego. So I didn't really have anybody to talk to about those things, and that's how I ended up here. And then I've built like a friendship network and a community here, which is also very much empathize with that, and recognize that. So yeah, that's cool. Have you? Sorry,
it's just nice because, you know, you've said that not like people in your real life, they didn't care about what you're passionate about. And now that you've got these people, you have your own safe space. You know that you can be excited with these people, and just having something that opens up opportunities for you. Not only that, but gives you a whole other pathway in life. I think that can save people from a lot of the stuff that they've got going on that's not so good in their lives. So I'm glad that you've been able to find people that are just as passionate about Lego as you are.
Yeah, there's a few of them. That's to be sure. What I find particularly funny and interesting is from my main friendship group, and like away from all of this, I was very open with them, and kind of they know I do all of this, and so every now and then one of them might drop in and say hello whilst we're doing this, or pop up on one of my socials. But they now, so we've got like the lads WhatsApp chat, as all lads do, but now like one will message me and he'll be like, "Oh, I went to see Thor the other night, pretty good in it," and you're like, yeah, it's good. Like, what did you think? And he's like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "What does this mean?" And, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to this." And then the other one's like, "Oh, I'm gonna give that Kenobi series a try." And like, all right, okay, like, yeah. So but it's funny that they do that. We talk about so much shit in our main lads WhatsApp group. Like we should, and we talk about all the TV shows we watch. But with those two, they message me one-on-one. They keep that in the group, and I've never kind of exposed each other on that. I've never exposed them. I just thought, yeah, it's like it's all coming around, but it's so like I say, it's so pop culture now. It's at the forefront of everything.
It's a great way to just bring more excitement into your life.
It is indeed. It is indeed. On the future of your content, one thing I must pick up on, because I saw you put a story on your Instagram, I think it was today or yesterday, that you're starting a fan house.
Yes, yeah.
And I love that you had to be like, this is what it's going to be for. It's not going to be for that. Because again, a couple of months ago, and I'm sure you get this all the time, it's like, when are you going to start an OnlyFans and all that? Because you're a woman, you're online, of course you've got to have an OnlyFans. But
yeah,
I saw you're doing that, so just wanted to give you a bit of a platform to see the fan house. Because one person I know who uses it really well, or I think uses it really well, is it's Bella Rose.
Yeah, I think I'm mutuals with her. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she is, and she seems to use that really well. But yeah, just get, what are your plans with that? Because it's a bit different when it's a paid platform and to get people to come in. So how are you planning on using it?
So I would love to be able to give people like behind the scenes content. So whether that's me like getting into my Twilight cosplay,
ironing your costumes and stuff.
Exactly. So a lot of behind the scenes, also more pictures. So like when I film content on TikTok, there's a lot of drafts I make that no one ever sees, a lot of pictures on Instagram that never gets posted. So I'd love to be able to provide people with the extra content, custom content. So, you know, for all the people that love Huxley, I don't post that on my mains anymore. So if they really want that, I'm happy to provide them with that. And also other content. So like more like underwear pictures, you know, just showing them, you know, this is what Vaders.Wife looks like under those robes, but in a way that isn't like where it's like, oh, this is what they're about, which there's nothing wrong with, but I just want to keep it within the cosplay section, but also being able to actually talk to people one-on-one, because and this is one of the downsides of having so many followers. You have people that appreciate you and you can't ever give them one-on-one attention. Your DMs are just completely full. You miss out on conversations, their messages disappear. It's like, I want to be able to get to know people one-on-one, and if they need advice or they just need like somewhere to talk, I'm happy to provide them with that without them feeling like, oh, I'm ignoring them, this, that, and the other. It's just a nice way to deliver a more personalized experience to those that would like it, really, essentially.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm just thinking, because I know you're very active on your Instagram stories, and then I know you're active on TikTok. Have you ever spoken? Like, do you always? I can't recall that I've ever heard your voice before. Have you ever kind of looked at a camera and talked at a camera on any TikTok or even an Instagram story? Because I know you tend to use text, don't you?
Instagram, it's very rare. Like, I rarely like sit down and talk. TikTok, I used to when I replied to comments and there was a lot of discussion, so I used to. But like now, usually, aside from when I go live on TikTok, it's just the text posting. So it would be really nice for me to post videos like talking like, oh, here's how my day is going. So then it's like they're actually seeing me be me rather than me just posting a text and just smiling. I want them to have more of a real experience. Like, I'm a human being. A lot of people forget that about cosplayers. We are human beings and it's important that we're seen as one. So if I can do anything that can help that case be amplified, then I'll do it. So I'll definitely be posting more video, speaking content and stuff. Yeah, probably ranting about Anakin, but you know.
No, I totally get that, because I think, again, it comes from a confidence place to just pick up a phone and start, putting it out there. So it's a great place to do that.
Sure.
And then should you wish, it kind of allows you to bring more of Kris out rather than kind of Vaders.Wife, because people need to get to know Kris. She's all right. So, but I do, like, a lot of this really resonates with me, because I think then, quite often, people, especially in TikToks, like a very different community, but I've got a lot of younger followers with it being kind of very Lego, and, they'll comment and I'll always try my best to reply. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you've replied and stuff like, I'm just like, I'm just sat on TikTok. Like, it's like, it's what I do. It's not like I'm, like cruising around in a gold Lamborghini or something. Like, I just like, I'm like, there are people who I see as big creators as well. So yeah, it's always nice to kind of give that element of you, rather than just kind of the persona that you put across.
Exactly. Like and as again, like with personas, I feel like a lot of people burn themselves out. Like they don't ever break away from their personas. And for me, it's very important that I can break away from Vaders.Wife, that I can be Kris in the real world, that I can be Kris in any moment I choose, because I would hate for me to become someone I've created that isn't myself, to the point where it's like, people only like me because I'm Vaders.Wife. They don't like me for Kris. The reality is they like me because I'm Kris. They don't like me for Vaders.Wife. Like, yes, she helped elevate my platform, but when people meet me at cons, they want to know Kris. They don't want to know Vader's mental wife, I should say.
Yeah, and that's the side you should be putting across, essentially, for you more than anything else. But no, that's cool, right? Before we go on to opinions and kind of like Star Wars, because we haven't really talked about Star Wars much, but I had an idea for just with you saying about the blue paint and all of that, and somebody said about like Thrawn earlier, but in one of the Thrawn books, there's some artwork of another, I think the Chiss, and she's got like slick back I don't know if it's dark blue or black hair,
Oh.
and like imperial whites, so like the him there, because that's Thrawn, so like imperial
Yeah.
white and the chase. Like I just thought, if you're stocking up on blue paint anyway, and you know it's a good option. It's I mean, you may why not go all in? It'd be a good because I think they're quite tall as well. I get perception you're quite tall, like slick back hair. So yeah, I just an idea. Maybe one to work on, but
yeah, I'm definitely going to write that down, because who doesn't love an imperial? You know, especially
exactly.
wearing white, being in blue. You know what? I think I'll do it. I'm going to add that to my cost plans, because why not? I've got plenty of blue paint.
Now the only thing I'm thinking of is though, how long will you have to let it dry so that you don't get any of the blue paint onto the white uniform?
Oh
But
gosh.
you might have to put like a lacquer over the blue paint, so it's like God knows how you get it off, but that's your problem, not mine. Like
Yeah, I'm going to have to bring a lot of sponges to scrub it all off.
like
Gosh.
a nail bush. But yeah. Anyway, Star Wars Kenobi's not long finished. What did you think about that?
So I definitely believed it was overhyped. A lot of people had high expectations. For me, all I wanted was Hayden. I wanted to see Vader without the mask. I wanted to see him in the back to tank. That's mainly what I was watching it for. So personally, it was overhyped. However, I was thankful for what we got. I just feel like it could have been a little bit better. It kind of felt slightly rushed to me in ways. You know, I loved that we got even though everyone was expecting to see Luke, I was very thankful that we got Leia, because she's just as important as Luke in the Star Wars story, and she was almost pushed to a side. She was just there to look pretty. She was there to just accompany Luke and Han, whereas in this series it was like we finally get an insight into this little girl's life, into how she blooms into a young, powerful woman. So I was very thankful for that. And also being able to, again, have that impact of what Obi-Wan has been going through after what happened on Mustafar, I was thankful for, because I'm not the biggest Obi-Wan fan. So to be able to feel empathy for him, that really took me out of the blue. I was like, oh, I'm feeling sorry for him. I'm betraying my husband. What's going on? But having that reaction, I was like, this series is onto something good.
I really agree with the Leia thing. Like the reality is, Leia, certainly in that period, is far more interesting than Luke. Like Luke is, he's pretty much a typical teenage boy when we meet. So what that means is his life up until that is pretty uneventful. Like he helps with the harvest, like Uncle Owen and Baru. Like he's a whiny little like sniveling bitch basically. But like Leia, she must have been so involved in so much stuff. And you know, I've had this conversation with a couple of creators, like how interesting, like if they swapped them over. So if Luke had gone with the Organas and Leia had gone with the Lars, they would have been their paths would have been very different, in that Luke would have it would have definitely been like the privileged prince and almost like Leia's cousin. And then Leia would have been like a proper like little hunter explorer, always getting into mischief, probably like, you know, having run-ins with Tuskens and making friends with Jawas and all that. So like and that comes from her nature and character. So it was really cool to see that. And I thought the actress who played her was like perfect. Like I didn't know that I needed a young Leia, but that was perfect. And I feel like parts of the writing, like the chase scene, was awful, and like they kind of let her down a little bit there. But at the end of the day, she really stole the show for me. And the parts when they're on, her and Obi-Wan are like posing as father and daughter, and it was like the highlights. Beautiful. So what's interesting is though you'd saying it's a bit rushed. I thought it was actually a bit drawn out. Now there's a guy, and I don't know if you've seen this. There's a guy who's calling it the Patterson cut. I'm sure that's his name, and he's basically took all of the episodes and cut it down to about a 2.5 hour film, but
Yeah.
he has no idea how to get it out there. And a handful of people have seen it and they're like, this is brilliant. And he's now like, look, I'll happily hand it over to Disney, but Disney are not going to take it because, but it's like, oh, I would love to see that. And because I do think that was my one argument is it should have been a film. It could have been a film, but I also think it should have been a film because of who Kenobi is. And it's Vader. It needed to be on the big screen. And then I think all those little bits would have just been kind of trimmed out, but it was still good.
I agree. So there was I think it was on Reddit. So the person that edited the Kenobi series and they uploaded it a film. I watched like an hour of it. And for me, I thought it was fantastic. However, I felt like some scenes that should have been kept in, they got taken out. Just like the sentimental stuff. I'm a very sentimental person, but I agree that Kenobi should have been the film trilogy that they were going with to begin with. I mean, and for me, then it would have felt less rushed. I would have hopefully have been able to have seen more of Vader, and just had more of the little moments between Leia and Ben. Because in the show, there's only so much you can do in certain episodes. Whereas if you've got a film, you have a little bit more of a leeway, especially if there's a trilogy. So if it was a trilogy, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more from it being paced. Whereas in the show, I was like, oh, I'm kind of finding it a little bit hard here. So
what did you think about Vader being like Vader's wife, right? So like, and I'm guessing Vader in the suit is like your best version of Vader. I mean, she bites her lip as I say that, so I take that as a strong yes. So where would you rank this version of Vader against like original trilogy version of Vader, prequels version of Vader? Then you probably see Rogue One version of Vader as well. Like, where would you place him?
So for me, my favorite Vader is always going to be original trilogy Vader, 100%. Like that to me is my husband. Then I would have Rogue One Vader, Kenobi Vader, and then Revenge of the Sith Vader. Now, for me, the reason why I have Kenobi Vader more towards the end is I feel like everything that I wanted that I did get, there could have been more of. So brutal Vader, you know, he snaps a kid's neck. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yes, yeah. All for it.
Legit, I was like, this is fantastic. I would like more of this. And then it kind of fizzled out. And, you know, he was dragging Obi-Wan through the fire. I was loving it. I was like, it'll never amount to what Anakin went through, but I'm loving this. And then he kind of got less intimidating for me. And for me, as Vader's wife, I always want him to be up here. Rogue One, very intimidating.
Yeah.
Original trilogy, I was shaking. Whereas Revenge of the Sith, I wasn't really scared of him. He was just upset about his past wife, who I'm here now, forget about her to begin with. But for me, Hayden did a wonderful job. I just feel like we could have had a little bit more of the brutalness from him. You know, you were warned what defeat would bring. Just get rid of her. I know that we have to keep her around for the story's sake, but Vader would have gone, not given second chances. So I kind of was a bit, come on now.
Yeah, there were, I mean, even like the final duel when he buries him, like I feel like Vader wouldn't have walked, like he would have made sure. That was my only thing there. Like Vader wouldn't have walked away. He would have been like, he knows the strength of the Jedi, he knows what the Force can do, and he wouldn't have walked away. Like that was probably my only thing there. What I'm interested in, and I know Hayden has kind of commented to say he would like to see this and see more of that Vader. But, and we've had discussions of this, I would absolutely love to see more of that Vader, but I don't think we can get a Vader series or movie because he can never be the protagonist. He always has to be the antagonist, almost like the horror Michael Myers style villain. Exactly. How would you, as an ultimate Vader simp, how would you like to see Vader portrayed? Kind of like, how would you like to see him in the next, like, say 5 years? Like, how would you bring him back to the screen?
I would definitely love to see, even if it's just in a TV series, I would love to see more of his inner conflicts. You know, he hates himself. He is deciding to stick around Palpatine because he's got nothing else going for him. So, and of course, a lot of people, myself included, believe that Anakin's got BQD. I want to see a lot of that internal struggle, whether he's just going alongside Palpatine, he's doing his own thing, trying to bring Padme back from what we've seen in like comics and stuff. I would love to go down that route. More of sort of the like legends sort of comic route for Vader, because I feel like there's not much else we could really do for him in the canon universe. Essentially, the majority of his story is kind of already been bulked out, and unless we bring another character in, he has no reason to be there. So I definitely think more of his inner conflicts, trying to find Kenobi somehow. But again, I just want to see him and Palpatine because he doesn't want to be there. You know, as soon as he finds out he's got a son, he's secretly planning to get rid of Mr. Man in the chair. So I would like to see more of that. How he's like, I can't betray my master, but I have a son. My wife still died. I want to see more of that. I'm evil and there's nothing I can do about it, but I have a son.
So have you read any of the comics?
The only comic I got to read, I can't remember the name, but I've only read like a few pages. But from what I saw, it would be my dream Vader. Like, I think it was Infinities.
Oh, I'm not sure on the names, but there's like a Star Wars, that's what it's called. It's the Star Wars comic run, and they're on the second run of it now, where the first run is set between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Like, it basically finishes where where they land on Hoth, and then Empire Strikes Back picks up, and then likewise the newest run starts basically on the medical frigate at the end of Empire Strikes Back, and it will run up until Return of the Jedi. But with that, there's a Vader comic. There is a couple of Vader series that run parallel to that, and they intertwine where they kind of connect. But it shows us where Vader, because Vader obviously detects the Force in Luke, and he sends Boba Fett out and asks Boba, like, right, find out who that pilot is who blew up the Death Star. Boba returns and is like, yeah, his name's Skywalker. And then like Vader just cracks like a window on a Star Destroyer, and it's immense. Like, honestly, I would, even if you just followed the Vader comic and then dipped into the Star Wars series as it tells you to, I would definitely recommend it, because it gives you that level of Vader that we've probably only starting to see, like, as you see it, like snapping kids' necks and stuff. But it's brilliant. But then you see him like seeking the truth of Padme, like immediately after Revenge of the Sith in one of them, and like, but then you see his relationship with Palpatine, that basically like Palpatine lets him know who's boss quite often. Like it's brilliant in that respect. So I would definitely recommend that. I'm trying to think. There's and Dr. Aphra. By the way, Harvey, do you know who Dr. Aphra is?
I've heard of her, and I've seen a lot of pictures of her because people want me to cosplay her.
I was going to say you have got a look of her, so I think you could pull that off. Now, what you would definitely need is, if you did that, you would need somebody to play 000 alongside you and BT, which are basically her equivalent of R2D2 and C3PO, but they're murderous.
No,
they're murderous. Like, they are homicidal. Like, BT is programmed. 000, who's the protocol droid, is programmed with like a Sith like personality. Like, it's like a Sith program, and all of his fingers have got like killing devices in them. Like, it's crazy. Then BT is an astromech that basically likes like buzzsawing people up. And they're always like pissed off that Dr. Aphra won't let them kill people. But then at one point they work for Vader, and it's honestly, they're definitely characters worth exploring. But yeah, what I would say though, if you've got obviously a phone or a tablet, there's so much to read up on. Use the Marvel Unlimited app. like £8 a month, and you can just kind of track everything. You can read through that pretty quick as well. Ideal if you're sat on the tube or the train or anything, traveling anywhere. But yeah, those Vaders are fantastic. But what I would particularly see, what's really good in, I won't kind of spoil it, but there's a part where, as you see it, like Vader's got nothing and he's got no one. There's a point where he's kind of in a bit of a wilderness because there's just nothing to do. So he asks Tarkin, who Tarkin in his kind of youth is a hunter, like as part of his culture, he is like a profound hunter. So he asks, so he basically asks Tarkin to hunt Vader, and like Vader has to like hunt him back, and that's all I'm going to see. But the levels that they go to are just unbelievable. So I would definitely recommend that.
Wow, yeah, for sure, because I love the idea of like Tarkin going after Vader, and then Vader. And again, this is what I would have loved to have seen more of Tarkin. Like a lot of these characters that are meant to be menacing have been so underwhelmed for us. So I'm definitely going to look at the Marvel Unlimited, especially for Darth Vader having the inner conflicts. I feel like we should have seen more of that as Vader, because we saw it all the time as Anakin. Like, I know, so I really hope that we do get to see some of that in Vader if Hayden ever does come back. But
so question, and this is quite an open question across the universe, like the Star Wars universe. If they were to bring Tarkin back in whatever capacity, which I would absolutely love to see, would you deep fake him or recast him?
Because of how much I love Peter, and especially he was very close with Christopher Lee, who I also love, it would be very hard for me to think that anybody could do my beloved Tarkin the same justice. So, I mean, if they can do the same deep fake that they did with Luke and Boba Fett, I'd be like, yes, I would love that straight away, because the other ones of him, like in Revenge of the Sith, I think it was, in Rogue One, they were questionable. And
they were just getting the grips with it all. That, I mean, you look how far Luke came from Mando season 2 into Boba Fett. Yeah,
incredible. So definitely, if they can get to that level of Tarkin, definitely a deep fake, especially if we can see, how he was brought up as a kid and how he became this incredible man, very menacing and badass. I would love that. However, if they can't do it, then we would have to go for a recasting. So hopefully someone that's got the whole jaw going on. I would be very open to that, as long as it's done with justice.
Yeah, and that's it. It's more about the outcome for me, as long as they get it right.
Yeah,
all for it. I think sometimes on the deepfake, and the Luke one being a prime example, I feel sorry for the actor who's putting that performance in, and it's kind of like at some point we just have to accept that these characters are 50-year-old now. Let's accept that the actors can't play those roles anymore. But hey, oh no, never mind. Harvey's coming in now with, he's got to be an Andor. I agree. I would love to see more of the Imperials on that. But thinking about Andor and like the content we know we're getting, what are you kind of excited for?
So for me, it's just seeing a whole other part of Star Wars that we have only ever had teased a little bit. I mean, I loved Rogue One. I wasn't keen on Cassian's character. However, I think it's going to be nice and fresh to just see a side of Star Wars we haven't really had a chance to see. We're always used to people swinging lightsabers, throwing people across the room with the Force, and I feel like the Andor series is probably going to hold a lot more meaning in the story, and knowing that it's actually leading up to Rogue One, that gives me a lot of hope, because to me that was one of the best things that Disney ever did. So when I first found out about Andor, I was like, well, I'm not going to find this interesting because it's not going to give me what I want. But then I thought, this is actually a good thing, because we're going to get a different part of Star Wars that's always been around, and it'll open more doors. So I'm trying not to have my expectations too high, because of course, Boba Fett and the Kenobi series, which was still good. So I'm just going to appreciate it for what it will be. I mean, the trailer, like from what we've seen so far, I was blown away. I thought it looked absolutely gorgeous. I was like, this looks good. So
I do think so, and for that reason, I think it will be perceived to be good because
Yeah.
it's not going to be lightsabers in the Force. It's going to be what it was like living under the Imperial Age, and we're just going to see stuff that we kind of haven't seen. A bit like the Mandalorian. We don't really know what to expect. There's all this new stuff. And it's always our expectations that lead to us being disappointed, not what we get as such. Although I would argue a little bit with Boba Fett, it was what they give us in a way, but I still enjoyed it. But yeah, I thought I really agree with that, and I like that. I think every series is going to be a couple of years jump on from the next one, so we don't kind of get bogged down in something too much. We can kind of progress through time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. What about the Bad Batch? Did you watch the Bad Batch or?
So I haven't even been able to finish the first series, and for me, because I feel like it can't stand on its own. I hate saying it. And another opinion that people might not like. I don't find the clones that interesting. I didn't enjoy the Clone Wars, and for me, I was like, these clones, aside from Boba Fett, they don't have any value to me. So yeah, Bad Batch isn't for me.
Fucking love you, Kris. Love it.
Thank you. You too.
Honestly, these lot, they're all like, oh, what about Fives? What about Jesse? Fuck them.
Who cares? They're clones. You see their faces all over.
Yeah. No, I get it.
No.
I think I can't like, so I watched it kind of week on week episodes, and I think it would have benefited from being like just a day one drop everything, and then you kind of would have come away with it remembering the good things, and you would have forgotten about it, whereas we had a week to dwell on like all of the like shit episodes, which there were quite a few of them of, and the pacing was awful. I hope they fix that. What I do really like and what I'm excited for is how they kind of start to bridge that gap into the Imperial Age, because for me that's where I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in the kind of the clone age for so yeah, you can come back if that's the case. So yeah, it's I'll give them another chance. I think I'll give season 2 a chance, and if it's more of the same, I'll be like, I'll struggle. But
yeah, same. And again, and even though I don't like it, I'll always appreciate it, because there's a lot of Star Wars fans, and I find this so bizarre, but a lot of them, they like Bad Batch and the clones more than anything. I think, you know what, that's really cool that you love these clones. You're giving them the love I can't ever do. And to them, Star Wars is those clones. So I love that. But for me, I'm like, stop with the clones, please.
I think it's I totally get where it's coming from. Is a lot of people now, typically of your age more than anything, but they grew up, their introduction to Star Wars potentially even through the Clone Wars and through the prequels, and so the prequel trilogy did nothing for the clones, because we pretty much got Commander Cody and the rest of them were just nameless. Whereas the clone, it gave us names, it gives us characters, it gives us depth, which is brilliant. But for me and my generation, a lot of us have kind of come to that more recently, and at that point, like, you know, we watched the prequels for what they were, and we just never made that connection with them. But not in the same way anyway. But yeah, it's it's nice for them to get their love and stuff. And I did like the little touch of the 501st clone in Kenobi. Like I like that sort of thing, but I like that they didn't do too much of it as well. But yeah, we'll see. Have you seen the dirty trailers of Mando season 3 and Ahsoka?
I refuse.
They're awful. They're fucking awful. Like honestly, it's like this. It's like somebody's like behind like this, and all you can see is like you see shoulders popping up and down and everything, and people are like whooping, hollering and stuff. You're like, shut up! I'm trying to watch it.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that. No one could even pay me to even go and watch it. I'd be like, no, not happening.
It's I don't understand why it hasn't been released formally, considering they know it's out there. But I'm interested in both. Have you seen Rebels?
So, interesting story.
because I didn't get on with the Clone Wars for the longest time, I was like, I'm not watching Rebels, and I've been watching it for the first time. I've almost finished season 1, and I've got to say I'm loving it. I love Ezra.
Yeah, and season 1's probably the toughest. I don't know if it's because it's a bit of a transition from, like, especially for people who watch the Clone Wars, it's all brand new characters, so that takes a bit of warming up to as well, but it only gets better from there. So yeah, keep us posted on your thoughts on that. But I think, well, from the trailer of Ahsoka, like, you want to have watched Rebels. So yeah,
okay.
just yeah, it's you some would argue you've timed it right. And there's a lot of us who absolutely will argue that Rebels blows the Clone Wars out of the water. There are many who would argue to the counter as well. So, but yeah, let us know what you think when you're done, and you might just time it just right. Guys and dolls, I know it's absolutely flown over, but we're just about to hit that 2-hour mark. Kris, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and it's been great to connect and chat at long last.
You too.
How we work around here is I always like to do this first, so it gives me an opportunity to get to know you, but it also gives the audience a bit of an opportunity to know you, and you to get familiar with the format. Every now and then, I usually say once a month, but sometimes it differs, I'll kind of bring people in for a bit of a group chat, and we discuss different topics. It's usually like when Kenobi's starting, or like if it's a new show starting, or there's a new one finishing. Would absolutely love to have you back and have you part of a group. One thing so this is totally on me, but the last time I did this, the last time I did a group one, it was an absolute sausage fest. And it was like that because what I'd realized is I hadn't really invited a lot of female creators to the one-on-ones over the time. I've had a couple, but I didn't want to kind of just keep inviting the same people back. So my effort now is certainly over the summer and beyond is to first overload on female creators first and foremost to balance the skills and then balance it going forward. But are there any, I'll say female creators, but if there are any creators as such that you think you would love to see in this format, please nominate them.
Oh, I'd love to. So even though she's from the US, Christy, I would love to have her here just because her love for Fallen Order, I think, is fantastic, and we need more people like that. So I would love to have her here just because she also brings a lot of positivity to the Star Wars community, especially for the LGBTQ plus community, which we always need. So I'd love to have Christy on here. Trying to think who else, and also Alpha. I know that she loves the Bad Batch and the Clones, but I'd love to have her on here as well. She's always been such a positive light and energy for me in the Star Wars community. So those two, I would love them. Yes, Alice. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen, but she popped in earlier on in the comment. I don't know if she's still here, but she was like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was Kris on this week." I don't know how she didn't know that because we're in a Discord together, and I did drop it and all that, but never mind. But yeah, both are welcome. About 50% of my guests tend to be from the US for obvious reasons. So like that is not an issue, and we can always make it work. And Christy, I'll connect with you offline if you'd like to come on. I would love to have you on as well. But no, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Kris. Great to connect. Look forward to chatting with you further. Looking forward to find out what you think about Rebels. For you lot, if you haven't already, smash the like button. And if you head down, for anybody who hasn't followed Kris already, her link tree is in the description below. Hit the link and follow her on Instagram and TikTok. And if you wanted to, you can see Iron and her cosplay on Fan House as well. So for a small free, and you can ask her some one-on-one questions. But until I'm not here next week because, as I say, it's my birthday, so I'm going off into the woods. And then I'll be back the week after for the 1-year anniversary. So I'll see you all then. This is the awkward bit, Kris, where we wave and go, "Bye, everybody." Bye.